And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akuga as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akuga. In today's edition of the program, we kickstart with calls for the restructuring of the Federation, which apparently fell on deaf ears during President Muhammadu Buhari's first term in office. Undaunted by what they consider a stiff opposition to their campaign, advocates of a restructured federation in the Niger Delta have reiterated the need to reconfigure the present governance structure in the country to make governance more relevant to the needs of Nigerians in President Buhari's second term in office. Next on our lineup is a special report on the performance index of the federal government through the instrumentality of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. Recall that in the last edition of this program, we ran an interview with Madam Black, an operator of one of the largest artisanal refineries in the Niger Delta. Following that interview is an avalanche of reactions, some of which will be brought to you in our third issue on today's edition of the program. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back after this timeout. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, determined to make a difference.
Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, it's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. President Buhari's failure to address Nigeria's lopsided governance structure for the country's rapid development, which was part of his electoral promises made in 2015, was a major cause of concern for Niger Deltans throughout the period of his first term in office. Consequently, some Niger Deltans have renewed calls on the president to live up to his promise of reinventing governance through political restructuring in his second term in office to bring about national harmony, stability, and development. Correspondent Tekena Amilfori has more.
In seeking the nomination of the All Progressives Congress as its candidate in the February 2015 presidential election, President Muhammadu Buhari had made several promises to reposition Nigeria on the path of national reconciliation, stability, and development. President Buhari, whose campaign ran on a change mantra, was unequivocal in his promise to effect a political change that will remove all constitutional obstacles to the people's realization of their human potentials. In specific terms, the president had promised to initiate action to amend the Nigerian constitution with a view to devolving powers, duties, and responsibilities to states in order to entrench true federalism and the federal spirit. In his avowed commitment to national development, President Buhari had also promised to restructure governance for a leaner, more efficient, and adequately compensated public service sector while promoting effective participation of the private sector for more robust job creation programs to employ the teeming youth. In the estimation of most Niger Deltans, however, President Buhari failed to live up to his promise during his first term in office.
President Buhari has behaved like some of his predecessors who make campaign promises and when they are voted into power, they fail to deliver on their campaign promises.
Restructuring is a panacea to so many challenges of this nation, including insecurity. If we restructure, we will have state police. If we restructure, we will have economies that are vibrant, and then nations that are just going to Abuja to beg for, to collect monthly allocation. We now think, look, it's not business as usual anymore. I need to produce something before I can go to Abuja.
The arguments pointing at Mr. President's failure to address Nigeria's national question are not without basis. Under his watch, in July 2017, the Senate threw out the Constitution Alteration Bill No. 3, which sought to amend the 1999 Constitution to allow for devolution of powers from the center to the federating units. It was a moment of depression for protagonists of political restructuring in the country, inflicted on them by those elected to protect their interests in a representative democracy like Nigeria.
Some of them are scared that if you restructure, there will be no country called Nigeria. No. You are tinkering with the structure. And what is the structure? The structure is about sharing of powers and how to move along in a more united form. My expectations immediately is for them to start the process of restructuring this federation called Nigeria.
President Buhari left no one in doubt that he was not a fan of political restructuring when in his 2018 New Year national broadcast, he admitted that the problem with the national question had more to do with process than structure.
I have kept a close watch on the ongoing debate about restructuring in court. No human law or edifice is perfect. Whatever structure we develop must periodically be perfected according to changing circumstances and the country's socio-economic developments. We Nigerians can be very impatient and want to improve our conditions faster than may be possible, considering our resources and capabilities. When all the aggregates of nationwide opinions are considered, my firm view is that our problems are more to do with process than structure.
It is the structure that will inform the process. In Nigeria, they think that structure is a building. No, a structure is not a building. A structure are the inherent institutions that can make a difference. It is from those structures you start to set the processes that will ensure that the structures will stand.
We need restructuring, not only because it will help our nation, but more importantly because the president agreed he will restructure the nation.
President Buhari's rejection of political restructuring, contrary to his 2014 electoral promise, had coincided with the submission in January 2018 of the APC panel report on restructuring, which, among other recommendations, advocated power devolution from the federal government to the states. To the dismay of most Niger Deltans, the recommendations of the El-Rufai panel on restructuring are yet to see the light of day.
Now, the second tenure has taken off from May 29. So what we need to do is to remind Mr. President that this nation needs to be restructured.
There's no way you can address the challenges of our country. You can't move forward until you go back to the faulty structure that we are currently operating. So again, I want to use this opportunity to call for leadership responsibility by the President of the Federal Republic. He's got to use the power and influence and authority of that office to mobilize our country to do the restructuring that is possible.
President Muhammadu Buhari is Nigeria's fifth military head of state and sixth democratically elected leader with a full grasp of the issues militating against national unity, stability and progress. While many Nigerians welcome Buhari's plan to take the country to the next level in the second leg of his administration, critics of his government are not quite certain about the achievement of desired outcomes, given the current structural imbalance that dictates governance in the country. Mr. President is expected, therefore, to jettison all partisan and sectional considerations opposed to the clamor for the reconfiguration of an ailing governance structure that has failed to meet the yearnings and aspirations of the generality of Nigerians over the decades. In reinventing governance to address mounting poverty, national insecurity, instability and underdevelopment, the onus is on President Buhari to demonstrate the courage and determination to take a second look at the flawed nature and character of Nigeria's federalist structure as it is currently operational in Africa's largest democracy.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs recently reeled out its achievements in the development of the backward Niger Delta region at a public forum in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, claiming that it had surpassed the people's expectations in transforming their lives. In responding to this claim, however, some Niger Deltans insist that there is no substantial evidence to suggest that the federal government's policies have had any positive impact on their lives. Correspondent Chika Bodozie tells us more.
The many interventions showcased by the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs were narrowed to three broad areas of infrastructural upgrade, human capacity development, and economic empowerment for communities in the Niger Delta. Immediate past Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Pastor Usani Uguru Usani, observed that the presentation was made to highlight the ministry's efforts at transforming the socio-economic and political landscape of the Niger Delta at a time the region was enveloped by insecurity.
We have carried out erosion control in several locations of the Niger Delta region. We have also carried out motorized water schemes, solar boreholes reticulated some distance away from the point of drill so that the communities can benefit from them. In all this, I can tell you, we have not done this without any challenges. As far as the mandate is concerned and the provisions are made for its function, or for the functioning of the ministry, it is a continuous program since it has taken off. We are all aware of the state of these projects in the past, but we have taken upon ourselves a policy in tandem with the policy of the central administration that we are not going to allow any abandoned project.
With regards to the development of infrastructure, the Niger Delta Ministry, under the leadership of Pastor Usani, said it had completed the dualization of Section 1 of the East-West Road, which covers Kayama in Bayelsa State and Warri in Delta State.
On Sections 2 to 4, we said the work is in progress. We received approval from the Federal Executive Council for the bypass between Eket and Oron to remedy the default in technical design, which had earlier committed the community of Eket City to be traversed at the center by this road. And it is envisaged that economically and socially, it will be too expensive for the people in that community. And so the advice of a bypass was mooted. The design has been approved, and the award of contract has also been approved. And the agreement will be signed any moment from now.
This intervention, it said, was in addition to the rolling out of capacity building programs in agriculture and information communication technology.
We have carried out interventions in virtually all sectors of the economy or society under our mandate as a ministry, given the instrumentality of the establishment of the ministry. And that is why we have enhanced some of the communities in the agri subsector, what I'll call household economic enhancement by training and empowerment through starter packs of modern education tending digital by ICT. And that has enabled us to provide some ICT centers equipped with PCs for secondary school students. We have also established some health centers fully equipped with beds for patients. In other words, inpatient health centers. In the area of agriculture, we've established cassava processing. We call them cassava processing plants, but definitely and really, they produce such other byproducts as starch.
As the immediate past Minister of Niger Delta Affairs had observed, developing the Niger Delta has become an uphill task on account of widespread insecurity, which is fueled by the people's perceived socio-economic alienation in the region. In stemming the tide of insecurity in the Delta, Professor Charles Dokubo, coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, had hinted that the federal government's renewed strategy was beginning to yield fruitful results.
Those in the Niger Delta who are in the creeks now have benefits of amnesty program. Those who have children that could not afford to send their children to university, now we do it. We train them in Nigeria. There are good and important vocational centers that have been set up in the Niger Delta region. So we don't just train for training, we train for job placement. People are benefiting from such action that we've taken, and that's why we have signed it. job instead of the war. We have been able to buy the people in, let them see the benefit of this government.
Some experts on conflict resolution, however, disagree with Professor Dokubo on the efficacy of the presidential amnesty program introduced in 2009 by the late President Umaru Yar'Adua to douse tension in the region.
Since the Yar'Adua administration, there is set up a committee that I headed. We produced what, by most accounts, was one of the most credible means of dealing with the issues of the Niger Delta in a more sustainable manner. Unfortunately, they picked only aspects of that recommendation and ran with it to just show that we have made some success. But in terms of what the whole DDR component was, it has not been implemented in terms with what we made the recommendations. And so you find a situation that it's an open-end appeasement mechanism, that no one has an end. When is it going to end? What is the state of even what you call the amnesty? Where are all those people who have been, beneficiaries of the amnesty? Where are they today? How are they integrated into society? What is the impact of what we have done? So each day it is an open-end thing by which money is there. And unfortunately, again, we have not only created a culture that people can earn money without doing any work.
That program was just, an interim program designed alongside other, development-oriented programs that have a long lifespan. This is supposed to be a short-term program. But if you continue to expand, extend, elongate it, because it has become a patronage agency where young people who have refused to work, see that as a means of survival. That is not what is intended to achieve.
In the same vein, other Niger Deltans have taken exception to the federal government's claim on infrastructural development in the region.
You cannot move from Abia State to Port Harcourt. Those are the Niger Delta area. The what they call it, East-West Road, up to date. I don't even know the contractor who is there because Centrago is not on the road. I'm seeing ROCC around the Benin or road working, but the job there is not the kind of job that will impress me, that compared to the amount of money that has gone down. The amount of money that has gone down in Niger Delta Development Commission, Ministry of Niger Delta, we want to know as Niger Delta people, what are they done with it? Where are the projects? Let us see it.
The Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs was established in September 2008 to formulate, execute and coordinate policies to address infrastructural deficit, environmental degradation and other socio-economic challenges plaguing the Niger Delta. While blaming the region's backwardness on lack of foresight on the part of previous administrations, the ministry's current leadership says it has performed creditably well beyond the people's expectations. However, the veracity of such a claim can only be determined by the Niger Deltans themselves.
Despite the fanfare, despite the promises, despite all the concerns, what exactly has changed in 2 decades of democracy? What has changed? Is this sector being better managed? Have the concerns of community people vis-a-vis oil pollution, air pollution and all that, have those concerns been addressed? But what we see instead is that the problems have exacerbated, they've become even worse.
It's just all about noise, big promises, politics, has even come to make the matter worse. Now people are divided into 2 parties that, apart from a few difference of a few individuals, they basically represent the same thing when you analyze them vis-a-vis their programs and their attitude to the cause of the region.
The raging storm in the Niger Delta, which has defied several interventions by successive governments since Nigeria's return to democratic governance in 1999, is blamed on their ill-conceived policies and strategies in conflict resolution. It is for this reason that the people want the government of President Muhammadu Buhari to go back to the drawing board to restore lasting peace and sustainable development in Nigeria's oil-rich region.
inside the Niger Delta. Overcome that blackout. Enjoy 24 hours affordable electricity without noise pollution or daily purchase of petrol or diesel. Invest in alternative power from Exalted Eagles Nigeria Limited. We stock high-grade, long-lasting solar panels, modern hybrid inverters, and rugged long-life batteries. We also have for sale solar-powered water heaters and water pumping machines. We also stock for sale large quantities of solar-powered street lights, security lights, and lanterns, as well as powerful voltage regulators and auto gate openers. We guarantee our products with reliable after-sales service at our maintenance centers. We have offices all over the Niger Delta, including Lagos and Abuja. For contacts, call Kinsley on 0806 388 7516 or Nick on 090 87 000 335. Exalted Eagles Nigeria Limited, your source for alternative power.
Nigeria is a major producer of crude oil, endowed with many highly skilled petroleum engineers with the technical expertise to refine vast quantities of petroleum products for local and external consumption. Sadly, however, Nigeria's capacity to refine its highly demanded Bonny Light variety of crude oil in the global market has been stifled by the moribund state of the country's refineries, a situation that has given rise to several artisanal refineries in the Niger Delta attempting to address the many gaps witnessed in the availability and supply of petroleum products. One of such artisanal refiners of crude oil in the Niger Delta is Madam Black, whose interview featured prominently in our last edition. It will interest you to know that Madam Black's practical solution to the country's perennial energy crisis is generating reactions from several quarters.
If you legalize these guys, how good are they in what they do? Are we trying to manage what we have? Are we trying to just use sentiment of creating job for them? Yes, it will serve as a job opportunity for them. But the question is, how good are they in refining these oils? How mediocre are they? And another question we're going to ask. So I think if the government can set up our refineries here in the country, we have about 2 or 3 of them, put them up to standard, because we end up transporting our fuel, our crude oil outside of the country, and we're not paying high quantity to get this crude oil back in the country. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense to us as a country.
I feel if we legalize it, we would actually provide a platform where the government can adequately monitor what happens. The government can really have total control. So if they had something like perhaps the government train some of these people who are already into illegal refining, maybe they get a license, and the government then would get to be in charge of what happens. I think that would help the price of petrol. It's also going to help us with our production. Already we know that we don't have much of the refineries working in full capacity. We know that modular refineries, we don't have any yet. So if we were to legalize artisan refinery or refining, it would really help. It would really help the petroleum industry at large. It's just for the government to come out with a very solid policy.
Government should legalize the artisanal refining petroleum products in Nigeria because it's going to help a lot. Following what Madam Black has said, it is very, very conspicuous that if government should be able to legalize this, it will help to create much employment in our country. Look at our graduates. This woman has employed many persons in the country, not minding if they are graduates or not. So if government should follow the same way and legalize this, it will help many persons.
Government, start by visiting the area or identify the facility owners. When you know these facility owners, the next step is know their capacity of production. When you know the capacity of production, the third thing is pick the sample of their product, take it to lab and carry out analysis. All we need to do is to increase their capacity, so it can be something that will cover for the entire federation. When you decide not to give these people license, but you go to America and buy petroleum products from America, you come back to Nigeria here and give some few money in the name of subsidy, are you encouraging the country to grow? The answer is no. What you are giving as subsidy, put it in the local refineries in the creek. They will come out with a refined product that is same or better than what you import from US?
I think the government should build those standard refineries. The government should, because we pay tax. I mean, you pay tax, I pay tax, everybody. I mean, of course, you know, people who live in according to the law, they pay their taxes and they deserve good standard refineries that will help them refine God-given resources that are in the soil. I mean, let's move away from crude oil for a bit. Let's go to Zamfara State, where mining of gold has become an issue. We need good industries. Government needs to give us industries.
Government should license these people who have these gifts, these special gifts. The government should come in and encourage them. There should be partnership in order not for us not to call them criminals. If we are in China, we are in Korea, the government will encourage these people to do what is right, especially to protect the environment.
Inside the Niger Delta. Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga wishes Chief Ndutimi Alaibe a happy birthday. Congratulations on your 57th birthday. Principal, you are truly an icon and a hero of the Niger Delta. Many happy returns from the entire Inside the Niger Delta crew.
Well, for a major producer of oil and gas, Nigeria's lingering energy crisis is indeed unfathomable and rather worrisome. Having initiated a process of tackling the country's energy deficit during his first term in office, President Buhari is expected to successfully complete that process in the next 4 years of his administration. Well, that's how much we can take on the program Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. The program will be back same time next week on this station. You can also follow us on our social media handles showing on your screen right now. Until then, I remain yours sincerely, Mamude Akuga, signing off on the program. Bye for now.